Okay. Great. So just to start off, this is the, I don't know, like we've been doing interviews, so it's good.
Yes,
This
yes.
and it's a space where we talk about language learning, perseverance, and your student journeys.
Mhm.
So yeah, welcome to our podcast.
Mhm.
You know me, I'm Vibha. Uh, I've been teaching you at
Yes,
La Forêt, but yeah, today we'll be talking about your journey. How not every story is perfect, how we have to be extremely persistent, uh, going through a lot of challenges, and always gradual progress.
yes, absolutely. My name is Kiran Shukla. I have been in Canada for, I would say, 4.5 years now, and French wise, I started doing my French just out of something I wanted to learn in a language back in 2020,
Mhm.
and I completed my A2. A2, I gave my DELF there, and then fast forward 3 years, I started doing B1 again for my permanent residency journey here in Canada. And yeah, and then it was accelerated after I got laid off, which I'll speak more about in the interview ahead. So yeah, and then eventually. I did some of my hard work. The scores came down a bit, and that's how I got my ITA, and here I am.
So yeah, lots of ups and downs.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, very much. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's discuss all of that. I want you to start from the beginning of your French journey, like how it
Sure.
was, overall French journey, right from A1.
A1. Okay. Okay. So yeah, starting with A1, I did. It was back in 2020. It was pre-COVID. I did in-person classes for my A1. I used to go in person and start with how a little kid starts learning a language. I started like that, and 2 months into doing A1, COVID struck, and we had to do Zoom classes, and then I kept, like, I did for A1 and A2, I did without break. And I think I went on for like 8 or 9 months for doing that. It's every day 1 hour. And then I practiced for a bit, and 4 months later, in, I would say, March of 2021, I decided that I at least want to solidify my progress in French.
Yeah.
So I pursued doing DELF A2, Delphi 2. Yes, then I did that. I think I scored around 81 or 82% in that. And then I had to stop because I came to Canada, and all the other priorities
Mm.
took importance. And then back, I would say, in 2024, I started doing B1 again with uh, Payal ma'am when she was teaching independently. And
Uh,
yes, I did B1 with her for, I would say, 6 months, then
mhm.
uh, took a break for a while. And then I would say I was in a job where I had applied for my permanent residency through provincial nomination, which I then got laid off. And I kind of felt that I would be laid off. That's why I was like, I need to get back on the horse again for my French. So I joined La Forêt here in 2024, 5 February. I joined and I did classes with Shubhra ma'am
Mhm.
for my B1 revision and B2. And then I started in February. I was done in end of June. And then I started doing TCF prep with you, Vipa ma'am. And I gave my first exam just as like in July, just to like, whatever I get, it will still increase my points, hopefully. And it did, I think, increase my points by 3, which did help me, I would say, brought me above 500.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then so I did my TCF prep. I would every day, Monday, like 3 days in a week, we would do like writing practice. We would do speaking, and yeah, writing and speaking in 3 days in a week. Then I gave my second exam in September. Again, I was not able to score CLB 7 in all four. However, I was still able to get above CLB 5 in listening and speaking, which was the criteria for extending my work permit under the Francophone work permit program, which thankfully I was able to extend for another 2 years after my postgraduate work permit, which I was already in, which was expiring in December. So it came around at the
Mm.
right time. And good news, I did get my work permit in January, the document which
Mm.
says I'm good till 2028.
Mm.
So, and then I was so down, like I was so tired because it was just like 6 7 months of like extreme grueling working, finding job and everything like that. So 4 months later, then I tried again in January to give my third DCF exam. But before that, I did get my invitation to apply, which took all the pressure off. And also in practicing like through TCF for master, which affected a lot in my third exam. I didn't do it in second. It was in the third exam where I used it
Oh,
a lot.
yeah.
I didn't know until then. So I used it a lot and I felt very comfortable in, I would say, listening and reading, because I would think that was the one which we had to do it like a bit on our own, on our self study time. Writing and speaking, I was still fine because I was doing in class. Someone was actually giving me, like,
Mm.
ma'am was actually giving me feedback on that. So I already felt better about that. But it was through TCF for master, which I felt better for listening and reading too. And that's how I, at least I was able to score CLB 8 in reading. Listening, I wasn't still fine, but then it didn't matter a lot at that time. But at least
Mm.
it increased my score. Like my husband, who hasn't done French, is at 510, was at 510, and I was at 516 after this exam. So that 6 marks made a big difference in my
Okay.
confidence and getting an invitation to apply. So that's
Mm.
my French journey.
Okay. So that is a long journey, I would say. So why did you give the TCF exam?
I chose TCF because, first of all, TCF requires, um, I would say, as relative to TEF, it requires less formalization, less formal of the language to be like in writing, or writing and speaking, I would say, in TEF. I have heard, and my other friend who has given TEF, I have heard that there was more stuff and it was more formal. Like she almost wanted to like shift to TCF. So I felt my decision of doing TCF by your guidance and Saurabh's guidance,
Mhm.
that doing TCF right from the beginning, no time wasting, helped me a lot in like doing focused on just TCF, following TCF mock exams, and not for 1 minute doubting that, oh, I wish I would have taken TEF, because after giving two official exams in a venue out there, I felt TCF was a was a good choice than TEF. I would say, like, I would still appreciate TCF doing that listening. I think TEF has that listening changes came in, I think, last year in October. I
Mhm.
would appreciate that for other people, I would say, and at least also letting us repeat one module and at least be done with it. I would appreciate that. But I would still say for my journey, I did feel I was comfortable with TCF
Mm.
of because as it is, it's my third language. I won't learn how to be formal. I would learn how to talk. I would learn the grammar. It would be hard to learn the formal version. So TCF was a nice choice for me.
Yeah. And you had to reappear in the exam. Even at that time, you didn't feel like changing, because sometimes
No,
a lot of people do. I know a lot of people switch from TEF to TCF.
yes. Yes. No one, I have not heard people going the other way from TCF to TEF. So
Yeah.
that only shows how much, and I also understand why, even, ma'am, you had also asked and like give your suggestion that TCF would be better, and how much you like pushed on that. So I understand why, because no one is going from TCF to TEF. So that only goes to show how much TCF is preferable, I would say. Like it's hard. Again, both are hard. It's just which will make your life easier at that point. Nothing makes it
Mm.
easier when you're doing French, but we have to look for ways. So TCF was the way to make it easier. Yes.
Mm. Okay, can you talk about your study methods that you used during all this time? So you start right from when you had your offline classes, and then
Okay.
you switch to online. Yes, like
Yes. Yes.
so you can talk about your resources, or you can talk about your schedule, like anything. If something
Of course.
is like remains, I'll ask you later.
Sure.
Mm.
Absolutely. So back when I was doing my A1, A2, it was in India. I had all sorts of help. I was living with my parents and my fiance and their family. So I didn't have much stress about managing my time, my chores, or my job. It was just just work and doing my classes in the afternoon. So every doing it every day definitely helped, kept me in touch with the French language. Like they talk about French immersion when you're learning it. So it's always better to keep yourself in touch with the exam by any means necessary. Like even watching series with French subtitle at that point would help. So that's what I did during like A1, A2. Of course, it was easier, and again, A1, A2 is easier. In India, it even was easier. So I just did like um, I just practiced what in the class we had. I think back then we had Saison textbook. So I just did that. There were mock tests at the end of the every section. I would have just practiced
Mm.
that. I think I don't remember much at this point, but I
Yes.
think I just practiced that, and also I did a lot of listening because that's where I was having issues because again it's a different language, and French like listening audios were really fast. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't give me time. If I hadn't practiced enough, it didn't give me that, I would say, focused listening to all those liaison, which makes it difficult. So that's what I did. I practiced a lot of listening back then, and it also helps in DELF that the audios are repeated the second time in A2. So that helped. Like the second time, I was verifying what I heard, and
Yeah.
thankfully it was right. And then fast forward to, I would say, in Canada doing B1 and B2. Um, was very hard because you have to tackle work, you have to tackle chores and French listening. So
Yeah.
definitely doing some structured learning, as I would say the classes I had 3 days a week. So that was very nice that I had to show up 3 days in a week, and I had to be, of course, prepping it beforehand with my writing over the weekend, and yes, writing over the weekend and listening. So
Mhm.
what I find best worked for me was structured learning with, again, independent practice. The classes were very helpful because it gave me a clear understanding of TCF exam format and the expectations for each sections. Like I remember once you were telling in writing that we used to, of course, write in B1 or A2 B1 level, and you suggested that write it in a bit of a complex manner to show your range, your spectrum, like wide spectrum of French. Like it means the same, but make sure you include subjonctif, if you include conditionnel to explain how much like large range of like out of Frenches, and like Vibha ma'am and Shubha ma'am explained me the strategies for answering the questions effectively, especially in speaking, where structure and clarity are super necessary and
Mm.
important. At the same time, I would say self-study for listening and reading was very much important because, again, doing it like on your own is the best way to do it rather than in class. So TCF, again, TCF formation helped me a lot with that. It had quite a lot, many, I think 40 tests on it, and so I definitely did that. And apart from that, I also focused on like building my vocabulary and improving my my ability to organize ideas very much in a articulate way when speaking, and like trying not to do a lot like buffering in my head. I would try to avoid that, like learn ways to use some fillers, I would say at that point, just so it gives me time to what I want to say.
Hmm. Okay. So then it was a lot of self study and a lot of help from your teachers then. Right?
Yes, yes, it cannot be like you can't choose one. You would have like both, and how much it crushes you that you can. And I was probably like the whole time I was imbalanced, I'm pretty sure. But at the end, like every Monday, I would say it's another week again. We have got to do this. We've got to. It's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. Like I had to tell myself I would cry a lot too, but but yeah,
Yeah.
it had to be done. It had to be done for my future and my family's future. So.
Hmm. So what do you feel about like group classes or individual classes?
So I would say like I can compare both of those. Like I did my B1 and B2 with just another person. So it was like I would say individual classes at that point. So
Okay.
it very much, and I think it came at the right point because B1 and B2, it's mostly like you are in a class, you are being taught, you are talking to your professor, so like Shubhra ma'am, and I'm a big introvert, so I would have to
Yeah.
gain lot of confidence to ask
Yeah.
even like a small doubt, like not to like I would say not to look bad. Like I know everyone is in the same boat, no one is judging me, but it would take me a lot of courage to ask what needs to be asked. So it was very nice that in B1 and B2, I was the only person other than the other student, so I was able to ask my questions without any judgment. And again, Shubhra ma'am was super warm and very nice, very accommodating. She definitely helped me a lot and like ease
Hmm.
my anxiety and introverted nature, which definitely helped me get better, like with students around in TCF, which was a group class. I would say there were like another 4 or 5 students with me at a time in the class. So again, at first, would be so hard for me to do my speaking, knowing that other people are looking me, are
Yeah.
listening. So it was, I would say I had a silly suggestion. I looked into that, but I would turn off everyone's video just for me.
Uh-huh.
I don't have to look at their faces. I know they're looking at me, but at least I'm not looking at them, which
Yes, that's a nice idea.
yeah, I would just keep mine and your on, so I know like I can look at your eyes and see what you're saying. But everyone else, I would turn off their video. I'm so sorry, everyone, but still,
No,
that
but
would
that's
help.
smart.
Yeah, so I would that helped a lot. And I would say, since I knew that although I'm not seeing them, that they are listening to me and I am listening to them. So when I'm pretty sure everyone goes through the same journey, there's a pretty much the same mistakes. So it's really nice to see when other one speaks, you find out the mistake, and then when it's your chance to speak, you don't repeat that mistake and you learn. So you get a wide range of, I would say, setbacks everyone faces and
Mhm.
how to correct that. So I would say both are
Yeah.
important, and it will happen to me at the right time. So it was really appreciated.
Yes. That's something new that I heard today. That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's only in Google Meet. I think I have not seen it in Teams, I would say, like
I
turning
don't
them
know.
off. But at least in Meet, I
In
knew like
Google
I can
Meet,
keep my
yeah.
screen.
And at least for our
And
students, that is an option. But yeah, that
yes,
is why, like, that is one reason, at least for your exam prep, I suggest, the group classes so that if
exactly.
you've had, if you are afraid to speak in front of people, this fear has to go out, like, finally
Yes.
during your prep, if not before, because in your exam, it's
Because,
going to be unknown
yeah.
people.
Exactly, and unknown people. And even in my IELTS, I had never been in a room with another person to give my. It was always I would go in a room and they would be in a laptop, like it was virtual, but in
Yeah.
person. Yeah, all my 3 IELTS exam I have given, it's always been like that. I would be at the venue, I would give the exam, they would take me in the room, and the speak like the examiner would be through like virtual setting. It was
Oh,
never in person. So in the French, it was new for me that I would be in a room and I would have a person in the like an actual person in the room. So, but it did help that I had given my exam thrice. So one time I had seen those two examiner in that venue, so I know who I'm expecting. But I had one repeated, so I know how she speaks and how she
Yeah.
was. So that definitely helped me put at ease. So always, like, if you're going to repeat your exam, keep it at the same venue, and so that's you are used to the venue, you're used to the people, you're used to the computers, you're used to the setting over there. So
Yeah.
it was like an hour and a half away for me every time. Like, I know people like travel from Vancouver to Toronto. It's nothing like that. But at least for me, it was 1.5 hour away by car. And my
Mhm.
first two exams were in summer, so it was not a problem. But the third exam was in like deadly winter.
Yeah.
So that was a tough one. But yeah, always I keeping the same menu, I would say. If
Yeah.
you like it, keep it. Keep the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also suggested to some students who live in the same city as their center that they could just
Oh,
visit the library
yes,
often,
that's
at
yeah.
least once a week, to be
Hmm.
to know
Very
the
much
people
used to it.
there.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay. For you, like, we have four parts: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Which was the toughest for you and why?
I would say the toughest for me was listening in TCF, I would say, because it's first of all, it's the first module when you appear
Mhm.
for your exam. So your nervousness and your anxiety are over the roof. And so yeah, you sit in there and you are bombarded with all these French audios and questions like they go out in a minute. So that was the one which I was most scared of, and I felt like I was not in control, because everything else you are in control, but with listening you're not. You don't get time to process the audio. So that's the one I was the most afraid of, and that I knew that I had to like listen to a lot of content. Even like I would listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm like straightening my hair or going to work. I would listen to French podcast as much as I could, so I'm not scared of the audio
Mhm.
once it starts an exam. And that's what I remember you telling in the class, that when the listening starts, nothing else exists. You are in it. That's the most important thing in your life right now. Only then you would be able to, like, focus on the audio, because it's time sensitive. Audio goes, question goes. You don't even get the time to process what you heard. So I definitely practiced quite a few exams, like test on TCF for Masya. I practiced on there, and of course, I was pretending that it's my exam, nothing else exists. So that's
Mhm.
how I was able to at least like reach, I would say, CLB five or six on that. But at first, when I would have like started again doing B1, my listening was like zero. I was so scared of it. So yeah, doing a the only thing is practicing and nothing like and not worrying about anything else in that, I would say, 45 minutes. Only then you would be, because with writing, like, sorry, reading, you would still be able to invert, like
Mm.
reverse the order and do it from the back, like hard
Yeah.
to easiest. But with
Yes.
listening, you have to go with the flow and you can't
Yeah.
change anything about it. So just show up and focus, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you practiced a lot on TCF pharmacy?
Yeah, I had, like, I would say I had Prep My Future too, but I felt TCF for my Prep My Future confused. Like, it was very nice that it gives us option like beginner, or like when your exam is closed, or like 24-hour format, 48
Yeah.
hour format.
Yes.
But I still feel that TCF Pharmacia was the one which helped me get over the fear of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. TCF pharmacy is like towards your exam, but this Prep My Future is during your learning. So B1,
Yeah,
B2
that's
are
so,
there.
like, yes, exactly. If I would have used it during my B1 B2 classes, I think now that you say that, it does make sense in my head, that if I would have done it that time, it would have helped me. but I think I did it during my first exam, between my first and second exam, and I did
Hmm.
my TCF in between second and third exam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and talking about TCF formation and prep my future, can you talk a little more about how you used it and how helpful it was?
Okay. I can start with Prep My Future first. So in Prep My Future, it would, like, I think I don't remember much about it now, but it would tell me that, do you want to practice as a beginner or as an intermediate, and then it would like start, like it would go towards the tougher levels. It will have random exercise, like grammar exercises too, to test how, like, that's, yes, I remember that. What I liked a lot, that it would practice, like focus on your grammar, like how you were when you were a kid. You would have workbook, you would practice your grammar, English grammar, like that. So I appreciated that on Prep My Future, that I was able to test my grammar. Like, I used to think I'm good, but no. So on that, I realized that I still need to practice a lot of grammar, which I liked a lot. And also, for other, I would say, for listening and reading, there were tiny, I would say, small parts of exercises. Like TCF, it's 40 questions, but Prep My Future would have like bite-sized exercises that you can do in small pockets of your time, without like worrying that I would have to sit down for an hour and do all the 40 questions. You can do it in a small pockets of time.
On prep
While
my future.
as Yeah, on Prep My Future, yes. While with TCF Formacio, you know it's getting serious. You know you have to sit an hour for each module every time. So, and that is important too when you're finally like going towards like exam, like TCF exam time. And so so again, with when I started doing TCF Formacio, I at least it what I would say is the TCF Formacio increases your endurance to sit in the exam, listening to French for, I would say, like doing French for 3 hours and listening to French for an hour to 45 minutes, because it's very hard. You get like fatigued. I think at the end of 3 hours, I'm so tired of just being in French. So
Hmm.
that's what TCF Formacio does. Prep My Future won't be able to do that. It would be just like a workbook when you were a kid. But TCF Formation would be like mock test and like grueling ways to get your French better, and yeah, giving you that place to focus and create and increase your strength and endurance.
Hmm. How did you manage your time, like your schedule, while you were preparing and studying?
Okay. So it was, I would not say that I was like supremely best at that. It was very hard, along with all this mental stress I had. So as I had mentioned earlier in the audio, that in it's right now March of 2026, but last year this time around I was laid off, and I had my PR in process through my nomination, provincial nomination, which which all went in vain. All my a year before like
Hmm.
stress and my like
So
time which I spent
2024.
2024 pretty much was in vain. Like, I kind of felt that I was in this fake happiness, that oh my god, everything's
Hmm.
going to be fine, but it wasn't. So I was in like a
Wow.
huge mental trauma, and I was still looking for work, and I was doing French. So it was really hard. And at the end, you have to tell yourself that this time is not coming again. At least I can make use of this time. So then 2 months later, I would be at least better at French, if not finding work. But I did find work, which started in June, right around my, I would say, my first exam. So I kind of felt good that I started getting structure in my life. I would again say it was very stressful, but at least I knew I'm going to work. I knew I'm going
Mm.
to my French. At least I knew that. So I would, that's when I started learning how much like important time management was. I tried to dedicate time every day to be to practicing French. Instead of studying everything at once, I would divide my like practice in different skills. Like weekends were definitely, like I would say, Friday, Saturdays were definitely for doing my writing and listening. I would say listening on like practice. Like 40 questions, like something like that. But all throughout the week, I would still listen to podcast, and I try to build my vocabulary. Like I would have a diary. I would listen to a new word. I would write it down so I know like what at the end I have, like how many words I have learned, and it would like every day looking through that would help me. And I also, I don't know if that helps or not, but I also at the end of, I think, Cosmopolitan, there's a grammar section altogether
Yes.
from the whole book. So what I did was I got it printed. I didn't put it in my kept it in my phone, nothing. Not digital version, but like actual hard copy, like old school. I did got it printed, and at least I would like keep it in my bag or keep it
Mm.
around me to go through it. Okay, this is good. This is good. At least it's like running. The wheels are running in my head about grammar. I'm not forgetting this or that concept. I at least have that. So I would do that, and also at the end of like night, every night before going to sleep, I would pick a verb on my phone. I had an
Mhm.
app which would give me how to conjugate, and then I would try to like, without saying, I would try to remember the
Mm.
conjugation because it's hard. Like when
Mhm.
you are stuck and you don't have time to
Of
remember,
course.
so it's very much hard. So this is how like during the week it was. I was not able to do much, but I would still keep in touch by the
Mm.
listening the podcast and doing grammar or doing the grammar, yes. But at the end of the week, I would do my solid practices on my writing on the all the four modules on the TCF pharmacy.
Okay. Okay. So talking about the exam again.
Yes,
Uh, so you said listening was the toughest for you for
yes.
the exam, but while preparing, what was like the biggest challenge while preparing?
While preparing, yes. Oh, okay. While preparing, I would say speaking, because speaking was the toughest, I would say, while preparing, because um, even when you're in class, you do speak, and you are given feedback by your by Viva ma'am, and you are given feedback, but you still have to learn from it and try not to commit those same mistakes the next week. So speaking for, I would like randomly speak about stuff when I'm doing it, so it would create some spontaneity, like if I'm like cooking, or if I'm doing like going on a walk, or like doing something and describing it. So that way at least you will create some spontaneity. So that was how I was trying to tackle speaking, like what I'm doing in a day, how my day went, I would try to speak in French. That's how like I was trying to get over my fear of speaking, because again, as I said, in exam the listening is hard, but at least speaking is hard in exam. And also I found it very much challenging during the prep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that in general you were not very excited about French because of your work and the fatigue, the
I would say I
grammar.
was very much excited when I started A1A2. I was a
Yeah, yeah,
really
no.
nice, like
By the
great
time
student. It's just,
you came to
yeah,
me,
all your resources are like exhausted and you have to still
yeah,
show up.
and
Yes.
like not the resources like online resources, but your like the physical
No,
and the
like, and
mental resources.
resources
Yeah,
inside, that
yes.
excitement, that zeal for life you have, and
Mm,
like it all like goes like, what is going to happen when your future seems so uncertain? That's where you're like, what am I doing? Like, would it even like be fruitful? All these questions, like existential questions, take up your stress, and
yeah.
you are so tired. That's
Yeah,
why.
and I
Yeah.
can see that life coming back.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, but what was there something about your only just the language part, something that discouraged you, or that
Like a setback. Okay.
overwhelmed you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would say um just how much TCF expected me to be at better at the language definitely made me feel, I would say, downtrodden, like doubting myself a lot, that will I even reach this? Is it even achievable? Like, why am I doing this? Like questions like that. And why are the scores not coming down? Like, I can do only this much, something like that. Like, definitely language was like a setback to me in that way. But I would say when La Forêt posts students like achievements on the stories, that's when I was like, okay, I have studied with them, they did it, so I
Yeah.
think I can learn from them. And then I would listen to just the same interviews. I would go there and read. I'm like, okay, okay, this can be done, this can be done. So like, I hopefully students in future also are able to, like, go through it and believe that yes, they can do it too. And it's hard, but it's like, I that's the thing about, like, I would say the students in LAFOR, I would say that despite through so many challenges, and I feel like a lot of them are in Canada, so I know what they're going through. Despite so many challenges, some are coming out with such flying colors at the end. So which makes me feel, it makes it very believable that yes, we can do this. But at that time, that was the setback. My own mental health was the setback I faced for language, especially thinking that it's unachievable. That was the thing which was every day breaking my heart that I cannot do it. But
Mm,
seeing everyone doing that did help me get over that plateau, that okay, no, we can do it, we can do it.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Wow, this is, I don't know, you speak it with such confidence. Like whatever you went through while we met in the class, it didn't show. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew that you were very tired and like you were
Mhm.
extremely like done for, but then
Yeah.
when yeah, it is unimaginable how difficult the classes must have been.
Yes, yes, they were. And like classes, you are still okay that you are with everyone else, and that is this accountability that okay, I have to show up.
Hmm.
That so classes were very good that way, that at least I'm showing up for that. I don't have any excuses. You have to be like really disciplined when you're doing the self study part, because no one is
Yeah.
watching you. You're doing it at your own, you are watching yourself. That's where you have to
Hmm.
really be disciplined. But classes help that way, that you at least show up, you try to do things, and at the end of the class you're like, okay, I did that, we can
Hmm.
do it,
At
we can
least,
do
yeah,
this.
and
Yeah,
if you just attend the class, like on a bad day, maybe it's not your turn to speak that day, but you still do something.
exactly. Yes, yes. At least I'm pretty sure I learned everything every day I showed up at the class. I'm sure I learned something. So
Hmm.
learning something is important. At the end of the,
Yes.
there would be, and I wouldn't say it was quick. It was definitely painstakingly slow. But again, starting early, like I don't know if this was blessing in disguise. At least I was done with A2 years, like
Yeah.
3 4 years ago. So that was like past Kiran thinking future Kiran will need this. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good thing to do at that point.
Yes.
Maybe now
Yes.
you should appear for the DELF,
I do want to, like I had my whole life in like shambles last year. I don't have my personal life, nothing in, like, I would say organized, and I love to be organized. I feel so bad
mm,
if my things are not organized. So I definitely want to, like, get my life in order and still keep in touch with the
with
French language,
friends.
and do my DELF, and yeah, and like not have big of a break between that, because again, I do like learning language, just not in pressure.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It
Yes.
takes the
Yeah.
fun out when we are
Exactly.
pushing.
It takes the fun out. Yes. Yes. But I still try to, like, now that I don't have any stress, I still like to, like, see, like, I'm curious, what does this sound in French, or how can I speak this, what are the new words? I still like to do that. So I think
Hmm.
there's some scope in doing like more in future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to the exam and the prep,
Hmm.
a lot of students have trouble managing all the sections. Okay, like having a balance between all the sections. So how did you divide your attention amongst all?
Yes. Okay. As I said, I would do one writing task in a week. I think I have done like what, 30, 40 writing tasks now. I would do one each week. I wouldn't worry about a lot more than that, because I felt like I was still in like control with that, with all your suggestions, all your guidance. I was able to do that. So one section, so that is 1 hour a week, was fine, I would say. Because if you're good at speaking, I feel like you would be good at writing, because speaking you have to be very much, I would say, quick on your feet. But
Mm-hmm.
writing, you get time. So all your ideas when it comes to speaking, you can use it in your writing. So yeah, writing an hour, for me, was, I think, fine. And when it came to, I would say, writing, and then I would like to talk about speaking. Yes, speaking. So speaking, as I said, it's not something I was like sitting down and practicing, because it doesn't make sense. Like, speaking is something which I can do all around the day. So speaking, of course, practicing 1 hour in one, not 1 hour, sorry, I'm saying that, in class, practicing twice a week was very much helpful. I would take that, take all those suggestions, and then use it in my everyday life during the week after that. Okay, this is what ma'am suggested, like making the sentence complex. What I'm doing right now, I don't want to say it in simple language, I want to say it in a complex language. How would it be? So I would try to do that with speaking. The listening and reading was the one which I need to sit down and actually practice for exam. Listening,
Yeah.
again, podcast and not random stuff. You can listen all over the day, but doing listening, at least I would say two listening comprehensions from the Farmacio, and at least two listening. At least it's done in 30 minutes. You can do two or more than two if it time permits, and if you have the
In a week.
capacity. In a week, I would still say that, like
Yeah.
doing, and I would say the weekend. You can do more over the week for sure, but I
Yeah.
was not able to do with my like 8 hour job, 30 minutes away, all of that. I was not able to do again a lot from Monday to Thursday. I wasn't able to do a lot. My
Mm.
Friday, 3 days where things happened, I would sit down and, like, I had made a timetable, I would say, that in my last month, that how many like listening comprehensions I need to do every day, or how many reading on days off. I had taken some random days off. I would remember I had time then, so I would do a lot of like reading interspersed with listening, so I'm not getting bored with one module.
Yeah.
So yeah, but before the, like, a month before like exam, during my prep time, I would definitely do like Saturdays and Sundays, I would intersperse, like, do reading interspersed with one listening. And when I get, like, you have to give up when you get tired, because nothing is going to go in a brain which is tired, and especially not language. So you have to make sure you take a break. You definitely take a break. And again, getting back on track here, that I would do, yes, I 2 to 3 listening, and then I would do 2 reading, I would say. And on the formation, because it has 40 tests, it's hard to exhaust. But I do know some people, I remember some people in my class who had done all the 40 and
Yeah.
were still reading that. So yeah, it is definitely doable for sure.
Definitely, yes. And
Yes.
I recommend doing at least like all of them at least once, if not more than that. Like I know some faculties they recommend twice or thrice. Just finish them off.
Yeah.
So that yeah, there's no chance
if
that they'll.
yeah, like if God, like God, thankful that I got the idea. But if I had to still continue doing that, I would have probably like done the same thing which you suggested,
Mm.
like doing it that
Yeah.
many times and then revising it, because yeah, a lot of questions are from there, and you feel like a sense of familiarity, which I felt in, like it did feel in my third exam with listening and reading.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, moving on, let's talk about your exam center. And you said that it was a good center for you, and that like by the end you knew the people, you knew your examiner. And okay,
Yes.
so where was it, and how was the environment in general?
Yeah, so it was called GB Language Center. It was in
Mm-hmm.
North York, in Toronto. I lived in Kitchener, so it took me hour and a half to reach there. And like the exam center in itself was very much professional, very much organized. There was no place where I felt a doubt, like what am I supposed to do next? Where am I supposed to put my stuff? Where am I supposed to do things, like, so everything was very much organized. I would go there, like I would go at least, I would say, an hour to 45 minutes before my start time. I think they asked us to come in 30 minutes before, but as I would go 45 minutes to an hour early. I would like settle myself, freshen up, because after hour and a half with exam you're very much like stressed, so like freshening up. And then I would go in there. They would verify my identity documents, ask me to. They also had a locker facility, so that was very much appreciated. Putting all my stuff, I don't have to worry. I had my husband come with me, but there are people who come alone, so they
Yeah.
don't know where to put. So they would feel safe like that. So I was able to do that, and also the teacher, like not teachers, but faculties, would speak in English if you want, but they would also have that French accent already when they're speaking. So you're like juices are running already, that okay, I'm going to do my listening, so I'll better listen and try to respond in French, that it makes you feel confident that you are using it
Mm.
in your daily life. So they would verify, and then they would ask you to sit in a classroom, and then take one by one the pictures for the exam. They take pictures, and then I think that's why they need that 30 minutes for. And then I
Yeah.
think I always opted in for three modules to be done before and speaking to be done last. There is an option to do speaking first and listening, reading, writing in the afternoon, but I would hate it. I would
Mm.
rather would I would hate that. I would rather be done with the three modules. So I've always opted in for the 10 to 1 slot, 10
Okay.
o'clock, start my listening, and then reading. I think listening was only 45 minutes. Then I can start my reading. It's not like everyone has to start at 11 o'clock.
Hmm.
Um, I can start my reading if I'm done with my listening, and then um, reading. And I think do you get a break after listening and reading? You can take a break, go to like drink some water. The only thing I said, they don't allow water bottle with you. They give you a glass of water if you want. You can
Okay.
like raise your hand and ask. I didn't like that, but that's fine. I get it. There are rules.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, you have to ask. And then I would take a break after reading just to stretch your legs, and you're tired
Mm.
after listening
Yeah,
and
of
doing so
course.
much. So getting some fresh air, going out, going to the washroom, and then I would come back and start my writing. And I think I would be done by 12:50, 12:55. And then also, like how early you're signing up for the exam, you can have the earliest speaking slot. I think it
Um,
starts at around 1 or like 1:30 or 2 o'clock.
mhm.
You can start like, and I'm pretty sure the person who is signing up would want the earliest slot.
Yeah.
But again, as I would say, like I would like 1.5 hour break in between just to calm my nerves. You have been through this 3 hour of doing French, and now you have to
Okay.
go and talk about it. Yeah.
Um,
So I would like just be in the center. Be in the center. At least it's air
hmm.
conditioned inside. I had given my first two exams during summer, so it was really warm outside. So at least I would go. I would just rest, and for an hour I would like chill out, have my lunch, and walk around, because walking keeps you calmer, I would say, than sitting.
Mm.
Then for another like, and then hour which is left, I would like I would go through how do I want to speak and how many like I would Google how questions based on what I'm saying. Like I'm speaking about myself in Kit, like I live in Kitchener, I have been doing this and that. So what are the follow-up questions which the examiner could ask me? What are the, and then I would go through, I would say TCF or massive speaking. It would show me part two and part three questions, just going through it so I know like it would be either this or based on this. So it's not
Mm.
totally out of out of topic. So like I remember in my last exam in January, I got a topic that in my part three that talking about a person who is finding a job. Okay, we have all been there. We have, I
Yeah.
have saw that. So it kind of helped with that familiarity. So my last hour, I would use that, and then I think give my exam, like my speaking would be between 3 or 3:30, and then I would be done by 4 o'clock. So at
Mm.
least it's done. And so I would like, I as a person who likes to be who likes to be organized and not stressed, doing 3 hour modules first and then ending with speaking would be better. And I think that's what I've heard from other people too. I haven't heard
Okay.
anyone who has done it the reverse. I do see people giving exams when I'm doing my speaking. I do see people giving LRW during that, but I'm like, nope, that's not my cup of tea.
No, I
Yeah,
know who does that. So there are two types of people: those who wake up late, they do not have the habit of waking up early.
true,
That's one
true.
type, and the other are those who are driving from a little far away, maybe.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. I saw, I think I met someone who came from Vancouver because they were not getting exam dates there. So that's crazy. It's like 3 hour time difference already, and coming
Yes.
there and in the city, it's a lot. So I was like, okay, this is just 1.5 hour. I'm in the same province at least.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that
know one of our
definitely,
students. Like many of our students actually, because we've been talking about GB test center a lot. So a lot of
yes.
our students are going to GB, and a lot of them are taking flights or driving there.
Yeah.
I know
Because
one
again,
of
I
my recent
remember,
students, he drove 4 hours for it recently. That's a lot.
and I think one of the reason also could be getting timer in speaking.
Well, I think you get the timer in a lot of centers.
Okay, 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 okay. That's
Yeah.
good then, because I remember like Allianz didn't have the timer. That's in the exams, like in the prep times, which people who are going to, I think, Allianz or any other, they didn't have the timer, so they practice without timer, which definitely keeps you hard, like makes it very difficult.
Yeah,
Like, are you supposed to think about French conjugations or your time is hard? So at least one
exactly.
is set in stone, and I think it's worth traveling 4 hours for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Are there any common pitfalls, that common mistakes or pitfalls that students should be aware of for the exam day specifically?
Exam day. I would say, like when you practice at home, you don't have that fear of time. You don't have fear
Mm.
of time. You feel you are doing it, or like unless you are being very hard on yourself, you're not keeping the sense of time and how fast it goes in the exam. So as when I'm giving my, I would say with writing, that's when I felt the time went by too fast, because when you're doing at home, you do
Mm.
see that 1 hour has passed, but you don't feel that sense of urgency. So when I gave my first exam, and when I realized how fast the writing and how much, like just creating those thoughts of what you want to write in exam based on the questions you got, that was the
Mhm.
first pitfall I experienced in that. Oh my god, I really have to do better the second next time,
Mhm.
because I cannot be taking so much time to just think about it, because when you think of an idea, you have to execute it, and not in English, it's in French with correct
Yeah.
conjugations, with correct grammar. So you cannot take, you have to, like, as you start thinking, start typing. You can go and edit it later if you think of something else, but do not take time I would say into thinking what you want to write. Like just start, and it will help you, it will get your thoughts running, and you would be able to write what you are thinking and can change later, but at least do not take. Like writing, the time goes by so fast. Reading, I would say it is structured. Like you have this many questions, I need to do every minute, I need to answer, I would say 2 questions or 1.5, like question like that. You would have that. But in writing, like even though I did tell to myself that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, this is how I want to structure it. I did not finish my first task in 10 minutes
In
in my
time.
first exam. It took
That's
me,
the
it
first
took
thing.
me
Okay.
longer because it was the first
Mm.
time. It took me longer for sure. But I think by the time I came to my third exam, I did finish like with 1 minute to spare. So that only shows that how much like thinking, like how much practice has gone into that. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the time is the one which I felt was the setback in that. And
Mm.
then came like every time in speaking, you would again about the time you would realize when you're speaking at on your own or you're practicing that it's not much of an urgency, but when you're in exam you are definitely measured every second of what you're and every on
Yeah.
every word what you are speaking. So and it goes by very fast, so you have to make sure you make it count, like be articulate, and you have to like do less of like buffering. So time is
Mm.
the, it could be your biggest asset, but also at first is the biggest pitfall, I felt.
Mm. So the strategies that we discussed, they help you
Yes, yes,
for writing
definitely.
and the time management.
Yes, right. For the writing, again, it was at least you are in control of the speed. So that's why I said
Mm.
in listening, you can't help. Those 45
Mm.
minutes are going and you have to be with the audios. But with speaking, it's on you. How you can control those an hour and how you want to spend it. You have to like doing a lot of practice, doing your first task in 10 minutes max. Because again, it doesn't hold that much like marks as the third one does. You would need a lot of articulation, lot of variation of grammar. You want to use connectors in task 3. So you need time for that. And you don't want
Mm.
to rush that one. So like we can like I didn't do it like, but people could start like do it like doing the task 3 first. But there is always a risk of using a lot of time in task 3 then. So that
Yes.
is also something, yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
You gotta be
That's
careful.
why I don't recommend to my students at least to start
Yes.
from the opposite end.
Yeah, exactly. I only did that in reading, starting at the
Yeah.
opposite end and
Okay.
ending. But then the like last like the first questions were like butter. It was so easy. I did like five
Yeah.
in 2 minutes. It's so easy,
Yes.
and like I had like 6 minutes to spare, and I think I
Mm.
scored the highest in that one because again
Okay.
I think I would only recommend doing from the back and reading for sure.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I like to do from the beginning because then I thought that the first 20 questions are easier to score. So if
Yeah.
I'm tired, I
Hmm.
hated the reading part, and I think that was the toughest for me. So
Oh, okay. Okay,
yeah, that's
that's
why.
different. Yeah, like because when I did TCF formation, I did use both. Like I started my first or second like test doing it from 1 to 39. And I'm like, at last I'm so rushed and the comprehensions are so huge. I do not understand what it says or what I want to like I have to look for in the comprehension, like where the answer lies. It's very hard. So that's why I start from the like that's what I thought, like starting from the back. Then I started in the second, like and second test and so forth. I started doing it from the back because my mind would be fresh. I would be able to listen, a lot listen, sorry, read. And then I would always make sure I read the question first because I do not need to read everything or like understand the whole like question, like a whole paragraph. If I'm reading the question, I know where to look and I would be able to concentrate better. And by the time I'm so like I would say so good at reading it, the last few questions would be like, oh, there it is. I have reading it so fast. There it is. That's the answer. That's the answer. And it's like what, 4 lines? It's nothing. That's how I
Mm.
was like, I came to realize that this works for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, whatever floats your boat then.
Yeah, exactly. Like try, that's the reason, that's why you have TCF or Masio, right? Trying different
Yes.
techniques. Like people could start at the front and then come back. I did that too. I did first few questions and came back, but then I would do mistakes in the middle ones. It was so I was so tired. So the only combination I thought would work for me, being very much tired and easy French questions, that would like
Mm,
bring me to the end. Yes.
yeah. What is some advice that you'd like to give to the future test takers?
I would say, I would like to say to what not to do, that doing, because there's a lot to do, but what not to do, I would say, like passively studying, like as I said, just doing reading grammar, like rather than not forming sentences or not writing down sentences of a grammar concept you have learned would not transpire into your everyday, like TCF is everyday French you're trying to get, marked on. So just reading grammar, it's not like you're getting grammar questions, you're not doing like in your prep
Yes.
my future has grammar, you're not getting that. It's so you have to actually like inculcate how you want to use grammar and make sentences with that, and like practicing the vocabulary. So like not just passive studying, like reading grammar explanations without practicing speaking or listening. And also another like habit, like trying to memorize answers as opposed to how
Yeah.
to express ideas, because if and like one thing goes different or goes wrong, you're like
Mm,
done, you've
you're
forgotten your whole
blinded.
answer, and it's like
Yeah.
throws you in a frenzy, which is very hard to come back from. So, and also like inconsistent studying. Definitely. I had my breaks in between, which I had to take. Again, life happens, you can't help it. But if you can help it, like avoiding inconsistent, like small, like just showing up for yourself for even like 30 minutes, 15 minutes in a day where you are absolutely done for the day, or probably like you're done for the month, just showing
Mm,
up just for yourself, like doing short daily practice sessions. That again, prep my future definitely has those. That's what I was talking about when I was saying small
yeah.
pockets of time. Like at least just doing that keeps you in touch with French, and you feel like, and when you do better on that, you feel like, okay, maybe tomorrow I
Yeah.
can do a
This is
longer
working.
practice.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Mm,
that's what I want, like not what not to do, because a lot of people would do. Being in that same boat, I have done that.
yeah.
And usually I have seen like in La4, I have seen people who have started doing it for 1.5 year and from A1 to B2 and TCF, and they are done. I have my journey spans over like 5 years with interspersed. So I have faced these problems. So I know how it feels. So I didn't want, like I wanted to advise that these are the things not to do. To be quick, to be better and be done with it.
Mm, yeah, that's true. How would you say, like, what was the role of La Forêt in all this prep and exam, whatever?
Yeah, of course. I would say La Forêt definitely played a very important role in my preparation, because because you do need a person like your family won't be able to help you in
Mm,
in like telling you like how to be good at French. They can encourage you that you can do it, but how to
mm,
actually be doing good at it. So La Forêt definitely played a very important role, and because it gave me very structured guidance, and again clear understanding of the TCF exam format, and how those tiniest suggestions make the huge difference. And I will always remember those, that again trying to make your sentences complex, trying to use all four. Like I remember Shubhra ma'am told me that make a list of connectors, make a list of the grammar concepts that you need to use. At the end in the writing section, check if I have used all those. So there's
mm,
those tiny suggestions make you different. So all those I got when I was during, like I was studying in La Forêt, and the how the classes included practical exercises. I remember once we did like, I don't know, what do I say, rapid fire round. I
ah,
remember that everyone would go like quickly asking questions, you have to answer, and then you have to pick someone. So that definitely, like things like that helped me how much it resembles like real speaking exam, and which made me feel very much prepared and prepared and confident. So I feel like the structure and the practical suggestions and the and being there for you, like during your French exam,
Yeah,
definitely that I felt La Forêt made a huge difference.
that's
Yes,
great. I'm glad that we were, able to be there for you also.
thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
I want to know now. So, you talk a little about your like the immigration, like the PR process that you are going through. A little of that.
Of course, of course. So I would say that when I came in 2021, I did my studying. I didn't graduate until 2022. I got my postgraduate work permit, which everyone like usually gets for 3 years. So I got it in December of 2022, and then come I would say March of 2024, I applied for my OINP. So it's Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. I applied
Mhm.
for that and I got an ITA invitation to apply in that. So in that it is you have to go through two levels. You have to go through the like the provincial government or like provincial immigration scrutinizes your profile and everything, and then they give you a nomination. So it's like a certificate which we have to take to the federal government.
Okay.
Okay, that my province is supporting me, please give me permanent residency based on that. So I would have to 4 months later, I took them 4 months to scrutinize me. 4 months later I applied for my federal level of scrutinization in August of 2024, and it took them 6 months to reply that they have received all my documents and they would be doing the checking now.
This is
And then
okay.
so I applied in August of 2024, and then come February 2025, I got the response that, okay, acknowledgement of receipt that they have received everything. But in the same month now, I was laid off.
Mm. So
So
all
I
that
was
hard
laid
work
off. So
was zero.
all that waiting went in vain, all that hopes crushed, and everything
Mm.
was like stressful. So, and I remember February, I was laid off, but I had already started my classes because I kind of had a feeling that I might be.
Mm.
So I had already started my classes, and I was already, I would say, I had done 2.5 year of full-time work. So
Yeah.
I still had like another 6 months to go to claim marks for 3 years. I was already at, I would say, 499. And at that time, the scores were going around 540,
Yeah.
520, 535. So like a big difference. So I started doing French, and then I would say in December 2025, I finished my 3 years. So I knew I would be able to claim points for that. So which got me to 510.
Mm-hmm.
And my second exam gave me 4 marks, four
Yeah.
extra marks from French, which brought me to 514. And on January 7th, there was this draw of 511. That's how I was able to get an invitation up to apply in that. So like the scores did come down and I went a
Yes.
bit up. So we met in the middle. And then when I gave my third exam, despite all the other modules, my reading was CLB 8, which
Yeah.
increased my scores more by 2 points.
Even
So when
more.
I
Okay.
applied yesterday, my scores were 516.
Mm.
So I like, so it did give like a even bigger gap between what was the cutoff, 511 and 516. So 5 marks is
Have a
a
better
good
chance.
difference. Yes,
Yeah.
a better chance. Like even you are very much sure there is no mistake in counting the marks, but you never know how things happen. So at least it gives 5 marks gap. So that's how I got my, it was through the express entry. This is called express entry, which I got the invitation to apply. The OINP was non-express entry. It was definitely non-express, very much slow. So at least now this one is faster. So that's how French and La Forêt helped me to get that, to try to close the bridge and close the gap between how the scores were. And then yeah, thankfully every like, because there were not a lot of people in the pool, I would say above 520 or 540, they had to bring the scores down. Like
Yeah.
5 years ago, man, no one, like anything above 500 is like people, that they have been there 3 years, they have Canadian experience and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get above 500. It's just there was
Okay.
so much competition, so everything was going like above 520. But again, even if I was like, although I didn't get CLB 7, I would have been like 550 or 560, and French straws are at 400. So I was like, oh my god, I'm as it is above 500, and yet I'm not able to get like in a French straw because I'm not CLB
Yeah.
7.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
what
was
I
very much,
was
I knew
thinking. That wasn't it around 400? So that was just a French draw.
it was the French draw. In French
Mm.
draw, you can have everything else, but if you don't have CLB 7, that's not a criteria to be in
Yeah.
French draw, right? But at
Yes.
least I was, although not getting CLB 7, but at least above CLB 5 in listening and speaking, I got work permit
Mm.
for another 2 years. So so that is a huge, and that is, I think, not a lot of people are aware of that. So I would definitely say that if you don't be feeling bad if you don't get CLB 7, it's just that
Yeah.
your employer has to support, your employer has to do some administrative work for you. If they are supportive, then why not? I know, I remember there was this one student in class which with whom I talked about this, and she said my employer won't be able to support this. So I felt bad. So she had no other option other than bringing CLB 7. But I'm
Mm.
like, I think there are people out there who would be able to help you with this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's very so a good environment, work environment, etc. That really helps as well. It
Yes,
matters how
absolutely.
you make your
Absolutely. Yeah.
connections.
Yes, yes. And I think the place where I work right now, I had done my part-time, like I'm there since I was doing my part-time. It was my first job here in
Ah,
Canada. I was part-time there, and then I went full-time. Then I left for another job where I got laid off. And then I think the place where I work had a vacancy again, and they called me back. So
ah,
definitely, like, being like working, the loyalty sometimes does help,
of
that
course it can.
they're doing, always being diligent, doing your due diligent, in being, showing up for work, being disciplined, doing your work, does, like, people do count that as an asset. So that definitely helped me back. So it was
Mm.
nice.
So, okay, one last question. So, how did the
Sure.
environment in our classes, the support from our classmates, and our resources, or the YouTube live sessions, maybe the feedback session, the
Yes.
mock test, the
Yes.
resources which we provided. You just tell me how if that was helpful or not.
Of course, of course. So I would start that the class environment at first. Of course, I was scared. It was my concern, but because I was introvert. But when I started doing TCF in group class, it was very very motivating, that and very inspiring. Like, seeing people who are just in the same boat as you, but they're still showing up every day, which definitely inspired me to show up for myself every day. And like being surrounded by other students who were working towards similar goals created a strong sense of encouragement. And like practicing together makes the process, like, how it feels good when you are in pain, someone else is also in pain, but you are together in pain. So that does feel very much better, and it helped my maintain my motivation, throughout the journey, like, and also learning, all sorts of mistakes, everyone's mistakes, and trying to be better, not doing those mistakes. And I remember one live session where, students could join
Yeah.
the facilitator and they can talk, which which at first would be a huge thing for me. Like, someone has the confidence to join the facilitator and speak French in a room full of people who are learning French. How great is that? But when I saw people actually doing, like students actually doing that, and when they're speaking French, and I felt like, okay, if they are doing it in front of the whole class and getting all this feedback, definitely I can learn so much from all these live sessions. And also especially the conjugation ones, and when you're learning, like when you're reading, it feels, oh, I'll remember this. But when
Yeah.
you have to use it, you don't remember it. So trying to like do it in a way which is more interactive, I would say, helps a lot with conjugation rather than reading than showing. Practically, I would say practical ways of learning goes a long way. So definitely Lafora had a lot of practical ways of teaching French rather than just, I would say, going by the book. Metaphorically, it was very much helpful that way, that making learning very interactive and enjoyable, and being, I would say, being warm and nice to the students, because like growing up, you know how it's like, right?
Yeah.
Strict teachers, you can't say things, and like, you know how we all know how it is, right? So
Mm.
it definitely makes it very much, I would say, gives you a space to open up, and no question are silly questions, everything, because it's important. You gotta ask others, and
Yeah.
getting that platform to ask was something I appreciate a lot.
Okay. Well, okay, that is very nice to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, like, now that you've been through everything, like, your journey is like almost at the end now. How do you feel looking back at the process?
I feel it was gruesome, but yet very
Mhm.
much gratifying. I would say, like at the end of it, you feel like you did all of that. Like all that 365 days, I'm thinking about, like, I remember every single one of them, and because it was just so hard, and like, but you went through it, and you have like every immigrant who has been in Canada has gone through the stress, gone through it, and then came out on the other end being such a different, and a person who has lived through all of that. You have done that. I have like struggles, you went through it, and you still came out, you were fine. So I feel like i I could not believe that I could do it. I still went through it, and now that I think of it, I feel like, okay, I can do it. And like in the future, whatever comes, I don't want the same topic to any other stress can be fine, but not this one. So I feel like it was very much, and I can definitely learn the language if I want to. And
Mhm.
I did it when I did not want to. I was just so tired. I wanted
Mhm.
to. It's just I didn't have the. I was stretching myself thin so much, which and yet I was able to do this. I'm thinking like someone who thinks about starting in their first year of work permit. I would say definitely going for it, that they have all this time in the world to do it, rather than being on a deadline that my work permit is expiring and I need to do this. That's that's the worst feeling
Mm.
ever. Like, oh my God, will I have to go back to India? Or oh my God, what I will do in India? My God, after all this, what will I say to people? It's hard, right? So doing like
Yeah.
first, like I would say starting early. So as I said, I had done A1, A2, which helped a lot. So starting
Mm.
early will give you so much time and like give you your years back than
Yeah.
being stressed about, because I felt I aged a lot last year. I felt
Nah,
so much like I didn't feel I was 29. I was so tired. I felt a lot. Because again I was in stress, and I got like I did like despite
I
me
think
doing things
29
on
is the age
time.
where you are tired. So, so
Yes, right. Yeah. So like, and like I did everything on time, right? As I have already said in the record, like in this meeting, that I did everything on time, but despite life throws you a curveball. So having one skill which can help you, and I think that's what I in 2020 would have thought, and that's why I would have started doing it. But that time I did it for fun, and I did it for something just to have fun and learn a different language. So it definitely helped. Like nothing learned goes in vain. That's what I
yeah,
felt. Yeah.
that's
So
good. So, like, now you have a good French learning. So, does that change your future, like your opportunities in the future?
yeah, definitely. Like when I say that I want to do, like I still want to like keep in touch, and I want to do DELF and do my DELF, and there are definitely like I would like to teach. It would be fun to do here, I would say, and which would definitely like I would have to like start on like a smaller scale or something, but it definitely increases your place, I would say increase your placement opportunities when if you're changing provinces, like if you go to Quebec, or even if you just go to like have a vacation, or you would still be able to like interact. You would still be laughed at because of the accent and whatnot. You don't have that accent, of course
Yeah.
you don't. You're not from there, and it's a different French than what you have learned. Like
Mm.
you normally have the French from France, they have some different, but at least it gives you rather than when someone in Quebec, when you go, like when you board a bus, they say bonjour. You're not weird like bonjour. You're not. You know how to say it. You know how to talk. You know how to listen. So it
Yeah.
definitely gives you more enjoy. Like I don't know about the opportunities. There are definitely more if you have French on your resume, but at least I would say opportunities to enjoy a different language in a province, because Canada is mostly English. Even Canadians don't know French as much,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
They study, forget, because of course, why would they need it? But
Mm.
just having that encourage, like you would have fun when you're traveling, and I would say that it increases your opportunities to enjoy more. I would say
Mm.
being
Yeah.
confidence always been an issue for me. I would say so. Being confident is something which I would definitely look at as an opportunity. If I can be
Mm.
confident in a language in a place, that would definitely make me feel so nice about myself.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
that is something like even I felt when I was learning French, just to be confident, and that
Yeah.
helps with your overall personality, you know.
Right, exactly. And like even when you're like watching a movie or something and there's like a French audio in between, or they
Yeah.
something say fun. I'm like, I know that. I know that. I know what that means. Yeah.
True, 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 very true. Well, thank you so much, Kiran, for sharing your journey today.
Thank you
Stories
for
like
giving me the
this,
chance. Yeah.
yeah, no, it was like long overdue. Stories like yours remind me that language learning is not just about this exam. It's more
No,
about your persistence, being patient, your willingness to learn and grow. And in the end, it's all about your confidence and how it changes and brings out the better of your personality. So
absolutely.
yeah, that
Yes.
is something more powerful than just your TEF or TCF.
Yes. Yes. I very much believe that. Yes.
Yeah. And to those of us who will watch this video later,
Mhm.
just if they are planning to give their exam, uh just wanted to let them know that structured guidance and advice
Yes.
that helps a lot. That just reminds me that we have made an alumni connect page on our website,
Oh,
and
that's
I'm not
nice.
sure if you, yeah, so I maybe you could be on that as well.
Okay, I,
uh
I can definitely look into that and sign up. Yes.
okay, I will yeah, I will have someone connect with you for this.
Sure.
mm, yeah, so yeah, but it's, I think, for someone who is looking into going for this, they might benefit from some advice, and not just from me or our other teachers,
Yeah, yeah.
because
I get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
In
is
fact, I
helpful.
remember I already like offline. I know someone who I spoke a lot about, and even their work permit is expiring in a few months, and I guess, and I already spoke so much about French, doing French, and like
Mm.
adding that to your skills. I think they did take pay heed to my advice, and they joined. I think she's at A1 level. I think she's in class
Ah,
for A1. So
that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, that is great. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
nice. So yeah, I would like to help her,
Sure.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all the
Have a
best.
nice day. Bye bye. Good night. Yes. Good night. It's night there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice
Have a
day
good
to
night.
you.
Okay. Bye bye.